Welcome to my channel everyone. Bitcoin is currently trading at 115,390 US dollar. In this video we are going to talk about Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana. Things are mad exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So let's just start with Bitcoin. So we have said about Bitcoin 117,700 US dollar is going to be the target, but we also have from our rising wedge in bright blue the first sign of an sell-off. Once we break it to the downside. We broke it to the downside. I just have to take out the tag here, the price tag, and we can zoom in. So here was the breakout candle, here was the retest, here was the follow through. Target is ongoing. At the moment, 111,605 US dollar. Right here. We also have two different chart patterns on the chart right now on the smaller time frame. So basically this one here, rising wedge, which also broke to the downside, got its retest. Target here is the 114,750 US dollar. I will give you here the price tag. Going to delay it now. What I think is far more interesting is that the target of the rising wedge is actually the breakout of this rectangle. And here's the target, 114,000 US dollar. So in my opinion, with a very high chance, we should sell off into the 114,000 US dollar. From here, get a small bounce, and afterwards the push to 111,600 US dollar. Also keep in mind, this price movement which we got from here to the upside, we have predicted it pretty good, and we also got our exit strategy for long positions. 101,160 US dollar is an end of a fair value gap. And so far we are missing the chart patterns which are directing us into that area, but in my opinion it is most likely the chance is very high that we are going to see Bitcoin selling off a lot, maybe even next week when the Fed is going to cut rates. So if the Fed is going to cut rates by 0.25%, I expect a sell-off. This can mean that we are going to sell off a lot for Bitcoin. For example, into the fair value gap, minus 12%. I think that Ethereum is going to sell another 25 to 30%, and I think that the altcoins can sell off 40%. So, what I think is more interesting, and we have talked about that. On my channel, I'm also doing community posts. So, one day ago, I opened my first short trades based on the Bitcoin dominance and USDT dominance. I want to talk about that with you very shortly. That means that I shorted all of the 12 coins, which you can see on my daily update. So the coins which are on the right side, those are 12 coins, which we are talking daily about. Into the cross mode, so I'm forming an index. So basically, you can see it. For example, Solana still made its push, for example, while Ethereum went down. So that's how I do an index. So Solana is in losses, Ethereum is in profits, and overall I want to track the whole market. Yeah, I'm not looking just specifically into Solana. In the future, if Solana breaks to the downside, for example, then yes, then I can individually trade Solana afterwards to increase my position size. But for now, I want to keep the index. So my leverage is small, yeah, because I trade many coins. My shorts are based on speculations, not on breakouts. I will show you that shortly. I think the push slowly ends because the coins went into the take profits areas for long positions. So we go into the USDT dominance. And if I trade the USDT dominance, I can't trade the USDT dominance directly, but what I can do is I can trade an index, like I'm forming many coins and I'm splitting up my money into many coins. Then I'm trading most likely the USDT dominance. So the USDT dominance, for example, went to the upside, means people are swapping their cryptos into USDT, so they selling off their cryptos, means the price should drop. If I would have put all my money into Solana, Solana made a new top afterwards, even though the USDT dominance is going up. So keep that in mind. Just because the USDT dominance is pushing to the upside, it doesn't mean that your specific altcoin is also going to sell off. It's just the whole market. So why did I take the trades? This rising wedge, I didn't have it on the chart if I remember it correctly. I have seen it afterwards. And I've seen that we got here a breakout retest, but we just got a second retest. So what did I do? I took the spread of the rising wedge. Instead of putting it to the breakout point, I always take it to the highest point afterwards. For example, the second retest. If we look closely, I can zoom in and also draw you here a trend line so you can see it. This one right here. So we went into the target of the rising wedge. What we have also done is we have retested, for that we have to go into the 4-hour chart, a bullish chart pattern. This falling wedge in orange, which we broke to the upside, and now we got the retest. I personally expect, based on the USDT dominance, and yes, I took my trades. I have to zoom in, I have to take the RSI a bit out. So, I took my trades down below here. There I started to open trades. Then I scaled up once we got here. Why that? Because we have here support. And I want to get into trades, so I increase my position size for all of the coins. They are not just for specific coins, for all of the coins at the same time. When I saw here is support, and the chance of breaking it to the downside are low. Why that? Because for several hours we were over that trend line. Here's the breakout, here's the retest. So what I think is that the USDT dominance has a huge push to the upside. This is going to cause a huge sell-off if we are really going to get into this target. So, if we now look over the Bitcoin dominance, what did we say? So it looks ugly. Let's switch into the 8-hour chart. So, we have drew here that we should get the Bitcoin dominance to 57.3%. From there, we should see a bounce. Where the bounce is going to go, we never know. We have just one chart pattern on the chart, which is directing us into a specific target. We will talk about that. But afterwards, once we got the bounce, maybe into this area right here, then we should see the real altcoin season. Yeah, we are currently in the altcoin season. Ethereum, BNB, and the hype coin, and also Solana are outperforming the whole crypto market. BNB, hype, and Ethereum made a new all-time high. I think BNB just did one 2 days ago. So basically, altcoin season already started. The thing is, the altcoin season, people think that all the altcoins are going to push simultaneously to the upside. It's not the case. It goes from Bitcoin into the large caps, most likely first into Ethereum. BNB is also a large cap. The hype coin is a large cap. Do I think that the altcoin season this time is going to be weaker? Yes. Why that? Because we have, for example, Trump meme coins. They are eating billions of liquidity, which could go into other altcoins. That's why we have too many coins, and I think that the money is not going to get pumped up, for example, all in Dogecoin, all in Rand, all in Tau. That money which the Trump coins are eating, I don't know how much. It's the Trump coin, Melania coin, and WLFI, I also think is from Trump. So basically, those kinds of coins, they are eating, I think, even 10 billion market cap right now, which actually could have distributed into other altcoins. That's why I think this time it is a bit more weaker. Also, all the pump.fun coins, like the Fort coin or something, they are also eating up a lot of liquidity. In the end of the day, I want to take what I've drew here. I would just put it to the right side so we don't forget it in the future. But I also want to have it a bit more clearer to see. So we expected that we have here a bear flag, which broke to the downside, target 57.3% in the Bitcoin dominance. From there, we should see a bounce. So far, we got a bounce. Are we bullish for the Bitcoin dominance? In my opinion, right now, no. Are we bearish for the Bitcoin dominance? No. So basically, what is actually happening in this market stage doesn't matter. It's not going to tell us anything. We need to break the orange trend line to the upside. Currently, at the current price level, 58.02%. Over the time, it's going to move to the downside. If we want to be bullish for the altcoins, or say, let's not say bullish, let's say the altcoins outperforming Bitcoin, then we have to break the 57.32% to the downside. That's why we'll make this trend line red. Then the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin by far once we break this red trend line to the downside. Once we break the orange trend line to the upside, then Bitcoin is going to outperform the altcoins. And if Bitcoin is going to drop and the Bitcoin dominance is going up, then your altcoin is going to lose a lot of percentages to the downside. So let's begin with the biggest altcoin, Ethereum. So I want to give you something, an information. This what I have drew here in bright blue. We hit this target perfectly. I don't want to manipulate right now. This wasn't on the chart 2 days ago, so we haven't talked about this. Why that? Because we had a rectangle. It is between the red trend line and the green trend line. I will draw you that here again. So this price movement here is a rectangle. I use always the target, like the length between the best support and the best resistance. I put it to the breakout point, target 4,717 US dollar. We went into that target. I can take this one out of the chart. What I don't like to do, but what is also possible, is that we get into the maximum extension. So we actually counted that wick here as well. We put it here to the breakout point and we perfectly landed into that target. I can take this one out of the chart as well. So what we have to look now for is that this is not just going to be a huge sell-off. So basically, in the past, we have had here our rising wedge, which also broke to the downside, got one retest. We didn't invalidate this pattern yet. So basically, for that I have to take out the price marks here. Mid-range target of the rising wedge in orange, instead of putting it to the breakout point, instead of putting it into the first retest point, we put that to the highest point afterwards. And that's what I have also said a few days back. We can also take the maximum target here, put it here also at the highest point. What I've also said a few days back is that even if we get the push to 4,700, 750 US dollar, it's not going to be bullish, but it's going to be less bearish. So a few weeks back, the maximum target of that rising wedge, it was here at the breakout point. Target was 3,200 US dollar. Do I think that we are going to get there anymore? No. My opinion, the maximum target is now 3,520 US dollar to the downside. So keep that in mind. If we now look into the smaller time frame, then we can also see this looks like a bull flag or like a falling wedge. This one right here. If we break it to the upside, then we have the good chance to get again into that top area. What is going to happen afterwards is this was then just a double top pattern, which we then break to the downside once we get out this low right here, and then sell off from there. So do I still expect a slightly higher high? Yes, if we break this price mark to the upside, I will give you that, 4,640 US dollar. Afterwards, I would be careful once we get into the top area here again, 4,763 USD. We also have the chance to fill the fair value gap up here, which wouldn't be bullish as well. It would be just less bearish. Then we can say, okay, head and shoulders formatation can develop and we can sell off more afterwards. So keep that in mind. I think the push is almost over, with the chance that we can still get a slightly higher high or even again into that top area. But on the midterm, I think we are going to sell off into the area 3,786 USD to 3,520 USD. And from there, a nice push for Ethereum because we are in the altcoin season. If we now look over XRP, then XRP is the only coin which didn't went into the take profit area, I think with render as well. All the other coins went into that area. So basically, $3.14 have to break to the upside. They broke to the upside, but we lost that support pretty fast. So $3.30, I can take it out of the chart for now. And we have to see what is going to happen. Because if we lose the purple box at the price mark of currently $3.01, then I think we are going to sell off to $2.90. Once we lose the $2.90, then we have to see where we are going to go, most likely $2.66 or lower. If we also look into the smaller time frame, then we can also say here, bearish chart pattern, head and shoulders formatation, formed, broke to the downside, got its retest, follow through. Maximum target here is the $2.97. And the maximum target, $2.97, would also be the breakout of that purple box. And then I expect far lower prices for XRP. So what about Solana? So Solana is stronger, but not strong enough to invalidate a bearish chart pattern. So this looks to me like a rising wedge. Once we break it to the downside, which is the price level of 243 USD, then I expect a sell-off, at least into the fair value gap. Don't worry, I will give you the price marks of that area. So it is the $231.50 to $227 USD and 22 cents. You can also sell off a bit more into the green trend line, but it depends on the time. Over the time, this green trend line is an upwards trend line. For that, we have to go into the 4-hour chart. So you can see it, how many touch points we had in the past. So we can also touch that trend line here again and bounce on that. If it's going to be bullish, or if it's just going to be, for example, a sell-off like this, dead cat bounce, and then sell-off, we have to see afterwards. But so far, I think that Solana is doing a great job. I think that the money is going currently into Solana, and Solana is in a small altcoin season for itself. So for Solana, I wouldn't worry. For the other coins, yes, I think so. But once we lose the 225 USD to the downside, then we have to see where we are going to sell off. Most likely 195 USD. If we are also going to lose it, then we can sell off a bit more than most people think. And 140 USD is even very realistic for Solana once we break to the downside. Because then I think this was the end for the first push. We can get down, and afterwards I see Solana between 300 to 350 USD. So if I have spot coins, which I'm holding since maybe 2 or 3 years, if I want to take profits right now to switch them into other altcoins, then this wouldn't be the worst idea in my opinion, because Solana doesn't have much more to the upside. So here we are talking about 20%, or in its maximum extension. For that we have to do this and this, 40%. So 20 to 40% is still possible to the upside for Solana, where we have other coins which can do 100, 200% to the upside still. So with that said, we see each other in the SUI, Avalanche, HBAR and Dogecoin update.